Hello, real quick before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to put out a warning. This is probably the most graphic episode I've ever covered. It can be very disturbing at points, so just if you do listen to it, if you want to listen to it, please just take due caution. Um, Lots and lots of trigger warnings for this episode. Thank you.
Dead and wrong, some cases close, but some never rest. When silence screams, we listen. This is dead and wrong.
Hi there, I'm Liz,
I'm Sam.
and this is Dead and Wrong, your weekly podcast for all things dead, people, animals, ghosts, you name it. If it's dead, we're gonna cover it.
Liz, why are you smiling at me? Like, you literally are smiling at me, all evil, like, what did you do?
Well, let's get to this episode. Dead and Wrong presents episode 20, The Case of Junko Furuta. So, let me introduce you all to a young girl by the name of Junko Furuta. Junko
That's a fun
was
name.
was born in Misato, Saitama Prefecture, Japan on January 18th, 1971. International, guys, for an episode you'll never forget. So prefectures are basically like states within America. Like Ohio would be a prefecture. Junko lived with her parents, an older brother, and a younger brother. At the time, she was attending Yashio Minami High School and was actively working part-time jobs in order to save up money for her graduation trip. Junko's dreams were to one day become a singer, and according to everyone, she actually had a really, really bright future ahead of her for this.
Aww.
Junko was considered to be beautiful, friendly. She was the popular girl in school, and she took her studies very seriously. Junko was honestly your classic good girl. She didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she didn't do drugs. She was very well liked in school by both her teachers and her classmates. And when it comes down to it, she was also considered like the perfect daughter that anybody could ask for. Her parents raved about how good she was. And I actually looked up a picture of her, and Sam, you need to look her up. She is so pretty, very pretty. Well, sadly, on November 25th, 1988, when she was only 17 years old, everything went horribly wrong in the future that she had been working so hard for
Oh, she's so
literally
cute.
became nothing but a dream that she would never be able to achieve. Yeah, no, I looked her up. She's gorgeous.
She's so pretty.
She is. Don't look any further into this. So it is 8:30 at night, November 25th, and Junko was riding her bike past the local park. She was heading home from her part-time job for the evening. Like I said, she worked long hours. She wanted to be able to pay for everything herself. A teenage boy by the name of Shinji Minato saw her, approached her, and then proceeded to kick her off her bike.
Rude.
Unluckily for her, a different boy, Hiroshi Miyano, approached her and seemed concerned with what he witnessed and offered to escort her safely home the rest of the way. Junko felt he was truly concerned and accepted his help. After all, Junko was a nice girl, and she was the kind of person who saw the good in other people. Well, Junko would never make it home. Now, before we go on to what exactly happened to Junko, I'm going to tell you guys all about the wet pieces of wilted lettuce that even a rabid bear on the brink of starvation would choose not to eat. They are 17-year-old Joe Ugure, 16-year-old Shinji Minato, 17-year-old Wasushi Watanabe, and 18-year-old Miyano Hiroshi, who is considered the ringleader of this rancid group and quite frankly the worst of them all. And I probably pronounced their names wrong, potentially got their names like the first and last name mixed up, and I don't care. Come at me. I don't care. These guys do not deserve to have their names pronounced correctly. What?
Respect.
I don't care.
You gotta show respect, man.
Not for them.
Names. Do names.
Not for them.
We still gotta
Not
do names.
for them.
Still gotta do names.
You'll understand. You will
I
understand.
understand, but here's the thing. A parent picked those names for those people.
Yeah, fuck their parents too. You'll understand. Let
Were
me
the
get through
parents
this.
bad?
Yes.
Oh.
So these 4 boys attended the same high school as Junko. And I won't say much about these boys because they don't deserve it. So sadly, I do need to talk about the shit-stained Miyano for a moment. So, Miyano was a troublemaker from a start. Even as a young child, he was showing problematic behavior. He had been caught shoplifting, damaging school property, and the crimes would only escalate as he got older. These crimes would cross a line with his then girlfriend, who was Yasushi's older sister, when he joined a gang and started to commit sex crimes. It is noted that the gang he joined / had connections with, or claimed he had connections with, was none other than the Japanese Yakuza.
Oh.
And
They fancy.
supposedly he was proud enough of this fact that he actually boasted about it to his classmates while he was at school. And he was already such a bully that people believed him, and it made them scared of him even more.
You're not supposed to talk about that. That's like you don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, that's why they think he was lying, but the kids weren't gonna test it. Supposedly, Minato was also a part of the Yakuza or was in the process of joining them, and he committed petty crimes such as purse snatching and then bigger crimes such as extortion and rape, all before the ages of 18. So, needless to say, these kids were literal shit stains on planet Earth. So, why exactly was Junko targeted by these boys? Well, Miyano, who was a very well-known criminal and school bully, like I had said, had a big crush on Junko. No longer with Yasushi's sister, he approached Junko one day and asked her out. Junko outright turned him down and rejected every single advance he tried. Well,
that's not good for her.
no. Well, poor,
No.
pathetic little Miyano just couldn't handle the thought of a girl turning him down, and so he decided he needed to seek revenge on Junko, and his gang of shit stains were completely on board for what Miyano had in mind. Let me make it clear before we move on that for anyone listening, if you are rejected by someone, that's it. You don't continue to ask, you don't continuously bug them, you don't harass them, you accept the rejection. And opposite of that, you don't have to let anyone continuously harass you if you told them no. Block them, delete them, whatever. Do not let someone bully you into giving them a chance. Like, I've dealt with stuff like this at work where like full grown women are being harassed by full grown men or even the opposite. I'm like, why don't you just block them, delete them? Like,
because it's hard. I've been there. It is literally hard.
block, delete.
It's not
Picture
that
of
easy.
your middle finger.
It's not that easy. They show up at your house, they show up at your work, they show up at family. Like, it is hard, girl.
Then you go get Betty. Well, as I was saying, you don't have to give anyone the attention that you don't want to. And people do not have to give you the attention or the time of day if they don't want to. And if you can't accept that, like to the dude who showed up at Sam's house, go get fucking help. That's not normal. And from here, the case gets really rough. I will be going over very horrific and graphic details about what this poor girl went through. So please just move on to the next episode if this isn't something you can listen to. And Sam, I apologize.
I don't get to move on to the next episode.
Nope. So Miyano started this horrid revenge plan by pretending to be a concerned boy and wanting to make sure Junko got home safely. So this was, like I said, she got kicked off her bike. Obviously, she actually knew who Miyano was because she had rejected him, but it's Junko. She thought he had moved on and was genuinely wanting to help her. And on top of that, while they were walking together, he had actively worked at gaining her trust, and sadly it worked. But he didn't take her home. He sneakily, with the help of the gained trust, led her to an abandoned warehouse where he made sure to remind her about his connections with the Yakuza. And I did want to note that at the time, the Yakuza were actually very feared among the Japanese people. They were in their golden economic time. So they had just gotten out of the height of power where their numbers were growing tremendously. So they had grown and they had tapered off. So they weren't getting anyone new, but they still had all those numbers. And so people were scared of them.
Yeah, they're known for having those full back tattoos, like the ones with the samurais and that stuff. Like that is their known like staple.
And sadly, it wouldn't be that hard to go somewhere and get the tattoo, even if you weren't a part of them.
Well, back then, if you got one and you weren't a part of that, like that was a huge no-no.
Yeah, these kids did it anyways because they're fucking stupid and shit stains. So Junko had every reason to be scared, and this fear was exactly what Miyanu was hoping for. After getting her to the abandoned warehouse, Miyanu raped Junko. Once he was done, he took her to a nearby hotel and raped her a second time. While at the hotel, he told her that if she made a single sound, he was gonna kill her and then kill her family. And it worked. She stayed quiet. Miyano raped her multiple times until about 3 a.m. So roughly he raped her for 6 hours. After he was done, he called the boys, specifically Ogura, and bragged to them about what he had done to her. And this was while she was in the room. She was laying there after being horribly raped and threatened with death, and then had to listen to her rapist brag to his buddies about what he had just done to her. And do you want to know what his friends had to say about this? These pieces of absolute pond scum. One of them, Ogura, asked Miyanu if they could keep Junko in captivity so their group and even other people could continuously rape her. They wanted to keep her in order to rape her even more and then to let other people rape her. You know, I hope these guys are currently living in hell with the worst possible things happening to them. Like, think of something very, very horrid to go through, and then I hope it's like 100 times worse for them right now. And Miyanu, being the bitch that he is, was all for the idea. So after he was done at the hotel, Miyano forced Junko back to the park where Minato, Ogura, and Watanabe were waiting. And once they were all together, the four boys raped Junko again. Once they were done, they smuggled Junko into Minato's family home in Adachi, Tokyo, and told her that if she tried to escape, they would kill her whole family. And by the way, this actually isn't the first time they've done something like this. They had kidnapped and assaulted another girl before, but then released her. And the girl, of course, never reported it because after she went through, she was terrified of what would happen to her and her family if she did. And I don't blame her. Well, in the beginning, in order to make sure they weren't caught, they forced Junko to call her parents and tell them that she was safe and decided to stay with some friends. And Junko must have really been able to calm herself down because her parents believed her. And this actually came after Junko's parents reported her missing because she hadn't returned home after work, as any good parents were. So the boys saw it, got worried, and forced Junko to call her parents. And now, I'm sure you're wondering, she's at this kid's house. What about his parents? Remember, I said fuck the parents too. They didn't hide Junko from his parents. In fact, Minato told his parents that Junko was his girlfriend and was basically going to be staying with them for a little bit. Well, as the days went by, Minato's parents did become suspicious of the whole ordeal, and they believed that something just wasn't right with what's going on. But because of Minato's supposed connections with the Yakuza and his friendship with Miyano and the other boys, Minato's parents were actually too scared of the boys to look into it. Like, they were terrified of their own kid and were too scared that they were going to do something to them.
I mean, that happens with parents.
True. And they chose to stay in the dark. Basically, they knew she wasn't his girlfriend and something was going on, but were too scared to do anything. And once Minato realized just how scared his parents were and how they weren't going to go to the cops or anything, they dropped the act. Over the next 40 days, Junko faced hell that I don't wish upon anyone besides the boys. Every day, she was raped. At one point, 12 different men raped her in a single day. It is believed that in total, she was raped by about 100 different men and about 400 different times. And this is where it really gets rough. So the four boys, eventually shaved off all of her pubic hair and then forced her to dance naked for them and masturbate in front of them while they listened to music. and they tortured her in unspeakable ways. They used scissors, bottles, a hot exploding light bulb, grilled chicken skewers, roasting needles, and irons in order to inflict as much pain as possible on her. They even used pliers at once to twist her nipples to the point where they almost ripped them off, and then eventually actually cut off her breasts. They would also burn her with cigarettes, and then on top of that, they would make her smoke multiple at a time. At one point, they tied her up and hung her from a ceiling, and then they beat her with golf clubs and iron rods. Eventually, her injuries became so severe that she couldn't stand and actually had to crawl to the bathroom. And the fact that she couldn't stand angered the boys so much more, and so they punished her even more. They would force her to sleep outside on the balcony during the cold winter months with little to no clothing on. And when it wasn't cold enough, they made her sleep in a freezer. When they weren't raping her with, well, themselves or other men, they were using different objects to do it both vaginally and anally. They were noted to have used a metal rod, a bottle, and even a lit match. And they didn't really let her eat. They basically force-fed her water, milk, and alcohol, and sometimes paint thinner. She eventually became so sick and injured that she was even throwing up the water. She couldn't hold anything down. Of course, this pissed off the boys even more, so they would use liquid fluid to burn her legs and arms. By the end of December, Junko was extremely malnourished due to the lack of food and basically having nothing but milk and the beatings she had suffered thus far. Her internal anatomy was ruined. She had become confined to the bathroom as she had lost full control of both her bladder and her bowels. Her face was severely beaten. She had a clot in her nasal passage that wouldn't heal, and after doing the autopsy, it had been discovered that her brain had actually shrunk from the damage she sustained. The worst part about this was that Junko had been given hope of escaping all of this on 2 different occasions. And to me, the worst thing is having hope and then having it ripped away from you. The first time she was seen by a boy who actually went and reported what he saw to the authorities. The police did go to Minato's house to investigate, but as I noted, parents were scared, so they lied to the cops, assured them there was no girl, and so the police left. The second time, Junko was able to get a hold of a phone and was able to dial the police. But before she could even get a single word out, the boys caught her. And they beat her even more severely for it. After this point, she just started begging them to kill her. She had lost all of her beauty. Her body was beginning to smell like it was rotting, and the boys had, quite frankly, lost interest in her at this point. The loss and interest actually caused them to leave for a little bit and gang rape a different 19-year-old girl. But they thankfully did release this other girl. But Junko would eventually get her way, as in her plea to be killed. On January 4th, 1989, Miyano lost a game of Mahone. I probably pronounced that wrong. I'm sorry. And this pissed him off. He was so pissed that he actually decided to go take out his rage on Junko and invited his buddies over. He poured lighter fluid all over her body and then lit her on fire. They watched as Junko tried to put herself out, but eventually became unresponsive. While she was unresponsive, the other boys showed up and they began to beat her. They were beating her fucking burn-up body, and she wasn't even conscious. She was unconscious on the ground, practically dead, and they were still fucking beating her. And they didn't stop there. They lit a candle and dropped hot wax all over her face. They placed 2 small candles on her eyelids and lit them, and then they forced her to drink her own urine. And at one point, she came to because they continued kicking her It caused her to fall onto a stereo unit, and she began to have convulsions. She was dying. She was dying, and they still didn't stop. Seeing as Junko was bleeding heavily and literally had pus squirting out of all of her infected burns, they covered their hands in plastic bags to protect themselves and then continued to beat her. At one point, they even dropped an iron exercise ball on her stomach multiple times during this beating. This lasted 2 hours before she thankfully succumbed to her injuries and passed away. I feel horrible for Junko. Reading this made me sick to my stomach. Reading this out loud made me even more sick to my stomach. This was wrong. This was wrong on so many levels. Like, everything that happened to the young girls is horrible, but I think this case definitely had to be heard, but I can promise you that I will edit the episode, but I will probably not listen to this episode. And I have a sinking feeling Sam will not either. So, obviously, because deep down, these boys were nothing but cowards, they were terrified that they were going to be charged with murder for what they had done, because they fucking murdered her. Like, you're gonna do all this, but then you're too scared to face the fucking consequences? Go fuck yourselves. So, they wrapped Junko's body in some blankets, shoved her into a travel bag, and from there, they placed her body into a 55 US gallon drum and then filled it with cement. And then at 8 a.m., the next day, they loaded the drum up and disposed of it into a cement trunk in Koto, Tokyo. These little fucking pieces of dog shit infused pond scum. You literally do all of this to a girl because she didn't want to go out with you, and then you get worried about being charged with murder? Like, boo fucking who? Honestly, I don't think they deserve to be charged with murder or go through the court system. Whatever they did to her, the court should have turned around and then did everything to them tenfold. Like, 40, you did this shit to her for 40 fucking days. They should have done it for 400. And when they were on the brink of death, they should have brought the kids back, took care of them, treated them, brought them back to full strength, and then fucking done it again. And especially a fuck you to Miyano, because apparently while Junko was in captivity, she had mentioned that one of her biggest regrets was not watching the last episode of one of her favorite shows called Dragonfly. So Miyano apparently found a videotape of the last episode and then placed it in the bag with her body. And it wasn't because he felt bad. It was because he didn't want her to come back as a ghost and haunt him. Like, fuck. I hope she haunted him and everyone else for what they did to her. I hope they haunted him. I hope she drove him fucking crazy. I hope he never was able to get a full, good night's rest of sleep ever. So for 19 days, 19 fucking days, these boys were out roaming the world with no consequences for their actions. And the reason why they were arrested eventually wasn't even because of what they did to Junko. No, it was because Miyano and Ogura were arrested for the gang rape of that 19-year-old that they had kidnapped and released in December because Junko was no longer pretty enough for them. Thankfully, these two stupid fucking shit stains were stupid enough to keep their victims' underwear as trophies at their homes. So when the police went and questioned them, they found the underwear, one of which belonged to the 19-year-old. Thankfully, for whatever reason, hopefully Junko's ghost was whispering in his ear, Miyano believed that one of the officers questioning him knew about Junko's murder and his involvement in it. And he had apparently also assumed that Ogure had chickened out and confessed to both crimes. So Miyano, probably hoping he would get a little bit of leniency, straight up told the officers where they put Junko's body. So the reality of this situation is that the police had no clue about Junko. They found him for the gang rape. They found the underwear. They charged him. They brought him in for more questioning. The reason why they were questioning Miyano even more was because there was the murder of a different woman and her 7-year-old son that had taken place days before they kidnapped Junko, which is still an unsolved case. And because they had found all of those pieces of underwear, they were questioning Miyano about it, wondering if like they could connect the dots, which they didn't. So when Miyano suddenly told them where Junko's body had been dumped, they were kind of thrown off. They were trying to solve one murder and stumbled across a different one in the process. So after they heard this really weird confession from Miyano, the police went to go see if they could find this girl's body. Thankfully, they were able to locate the drum, and through her fingerprints, they were able to confirm the girl was Junko. Now, on April 1st, 1989, Ugure was arrested for a different sexual assault, and because they had finally been able to locate him, he was also arrested for Junko's murder, since Miyano had also confessed to everyone else's part in everything. Shortly after this, Minato Watanabe, Minato's brother, two men named Tetsuya Nakamura and Koichi Ihara, and a handful of others were also arrested. And everyone brought was charged with the rape of Junko, as their DNA had been found on and still inside Junko. The main four, Minato, Watanabe, Ogure, and Miyano, pled guilty and were charged with committing bodily injury that resulted in death rather than murder. Miyano was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Minato got 5 to 9 years. Watanabe got 5 to 7, and Ogure got 8 in juvenile detention. And throughout the whole trial, these fucks claimed that they were innocent. Quick pause. That's it. Like, that's what they get. This one guy gets 20 years in prison. The one who told him, hey, let's keep her and torture her, only gets 8 years in juvenile detention. These boys agreed to horrendously torture and rape Junko. And this is all they get? I don't give a fuck how old they were. They should have gotten life sentences or the death penalty. I don't want them to live. I want them to just be fucking dead.
Well, it's like what you and I say. If you make adult choices, you get adult consequences.
Yeah. And this wasn't, well, I didn't know it was wrong. No, you fucking knew it was wrong. Ogure, after he was released, because, he only got 8 years, in 2004, he beat a man and kidnapped him because he thought his girlfriend at the time was cheating on him with the guy, and he told this guy that he was beating he'd killed someone before and gotten away with. He was fucking talking about Junko. And they gave him 7 years in prison for beating him. That's it. 7 years. So I did go and look into where everybody was. At this point in time, Miyano is living as a free man. He was released in 2009. I hope you get hit by a bus. Ogure thankfully died in 2022. I love the way he died. I think it's hilarious. He collapsed one day and got his head stuck between the toilet bowl and tank, and then choked to death on his own vomit.
That was Junko coming back to haunt him.
Yeah, she was like, fuck you, bitch. Good for him. Minato was released in 1988. In 2018, he was found guilty of a different murder and given a prison sentence of 1 year and 6 months.
Seriously?
Yep. He is currently a free man. I hope you also get hit by a bus, or I hope Junko does something hilarious and torturous like she did to Ogure.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, Watanabe was released in 1996. He got a neurodegenerative disease in 2005 that he could not get the money to treat, and then died in May of 2021 from a disease he could not cure. Junko, you just have 2 others. Just go after them. It's fine.
Right.
No one will care. Quite frankly, I low-key hope someone both digs up Ogure's and Watanabe's bodies and then lays them on the ground and then runs them over with a bus.
You really like buses right now.
Hey, I do. I want them to get ran over by a bus or multiple. As for the 2 men still alive and walking around, I really hope they get hit by buses. I hope they're just trying to go to work one day out of their misery. And the last person they see is Junko flipping them off. Thankfully, the people of Japan had actually not been happy with the original sentences. Many of them wrote to the Tokyo Police Department and stated that the boys need to be given the death penalty. They should have. These guys had a history of rape even before Junko. And it got to the point of torture and murder. Why they were not given the death penalty, I don't know. They should have been dragged to the steps and shot.
They should have been given the death penalty.
They should have been given the death penalty. Just pick their bodies up and drop them in a vat of acid. Let them burn alive. One limb at a time. Arm, leg, dick. No, start with the dick. Then arm, leg, face.
That's too quick. You gotta do the 4 horsemen draw.
Just pull them apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, though, I do kind of like how Ogre died. I find that hilarious.
It is quite
You
funny.
died by choking on your own vomit.
With your head stuck by a toilet.
In between the toilet bowl and the toilet. I fucking... So you know how I said, like, fuck you to the parents, too, in the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
This is why. Ogre's mother vandalized Junko's grave and blamed her for the reason why her son's life was ruined.
No, honey, your son's life
no,
was ruined
ma'am.
because he made bad choices.
He didn't make bad choices. He made horrendous choices. Ma'am, your son is a piece of dog shit pond scum, and the whole world would have been better off if you had just swallowed him instead. But here we are. He deserved to die the way he did.
Yeah, but I understand her being a mom and her son died and she's angry, but she needs to take a look at what he did and not take it out on an innocent person.
Like, be sad that your son died. Remember him for the little boy he was before he committed all this. But your 17-year-old son, no, he fucking deserved what he got.
Mm.
And I hope he's in hell getting ran over by buses. Junko's parents were able to win a civil lawsuit against Minato's parents because all this was going down in their home and they were too scared to do anything. They won. They got a lot of money.
We'll say that those parents probably should have done some jail time because they didn't do anything. They could have secretly told the police. They could have done something.
I do want to make this important note. So this story obviously is from Japan. It had to be translated from Japanese to English. I looked up multiple different articles and some of the information was jumbled back and forth. So I just wanted to know the possibilities of some of the changes, but like the torture part, the rough part, that is all true. It was just some of the beginning details that might have been swapped. So I read somewhere that it was possible that Minato was the one who had the crush on Junko, not Miyano. So it would have just swapped. Miyano kicked her off the bike. Minato helped her. Minato was the one who started it all. There's also the potential that the boys didn't attend the school. Rather, that day in the park, whoever it was, Minato or Miyano, saw that she was cute and just decided to rape her anyways because they had a history of it. So those are the only 2 things that I saw being tossed back and forth. And then one article stated that potentially Junko didn't deny him because she wasn't dating, but because she already had a boyfriend. But like, it doesn't change about what happened.
It doesn't. However it started doesn't change to what they did.
Either way, dog shit pod scums that deserve to be hit by buses, multiple buses. And this is actually considered one of the most horrific crimes ever committed in Japanese history. Even with all the wars, like the growth they went through, the changes, this is considered one of the most horrific crimes ever discovered. And that is the horrid, tragic, terrible story of Junko Furuta. Sam, please don't quit the podcast.
I might.
Please don't. I promise. I read this one and I do feel like it needed to be told because that's what I have planned out.
Great.
Her story needed to be told. And like, no offense to the Japanese government, but you should have given them all the death penalty. This isn't just like your, I killed her. No, they tortured her for 40 fucking days.
Usually
and one
they're
of them
really
gets
good on their
8 years in
punishments.
prison. I think it's because they were quote unquote kids.
All right, people. I hope you come back and visit us. I hope Liz didn't, traumatize you too much like she did me as she's typing away on her computer.
So I looked it up because I couldn't remember and I wanted to say. So Miyano, really none of the guys, but specifically Miyano, did not receive the death penalty because he was a minor. And under the Japanese juvenile justice system, there is a strong emphasis on rehabilitation rather than capital punishment for minors.
Yeah, well, I don't think it worked on them.
No, not at all, especially not Ogre. But still, like, oh, well, they could be rehabilitated. You really think 4 boys that tortured a girl for 44 fucking days and the shit they did to her can be rehabilitated? No, that was engraved in them, and they fucking enjoyed it. There was no rehabilitation. You should have killed them, strung them by their toes, and hit them with a bunch of buses.
Or at least kept them in jail for life.
And kill them by hitting them with a bus. Tie them up, run them over with the bus while they're still in pain, tie them to the back of the bus, and then let the bus drag them, and then stop at an intersection and let another bus run them over.
All right. Anyways, as a reminder, we do have social media up and running. We have Facebook, Instagram, and now X, Twitter. We are streaming on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and YouTube. If you could rate our episodes and give us, great ratings. Not on this one, though. For our Facebook page, that'd be amazing. It would really help us out. I get it if you don't after this episode.
But just skip over this episode and just move on to the next one. It'll be better. I'll give you guys like a funny murder episode.
If you guys want to tell us any of your stories, which would be great right now, please send them our way and message us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at deadandwrongpodcast@gmail.com. And you can join us next Sunday for a much
Sam's coming back.
better episode that won't be as traumatizing, for your regularly scheduled fun episode filled with all things dead. Bye.